All right, today we're gonna learn how to compare decimals using the place value chart, visual models, and number lines. So we're gonna start off with the place value chart. And I already went ahead and drew out my place value chart here so that I could be ready. I have my decimal, my ones place, tens, hundreds. So all my whole numbers are on this side. My decimal, tenths, hundredths on this side. Remember, my decimal is always between the ones and the tenths. So I'm comparing numbers. So that means I'm going to be using my greater than, less than, and equal to signs here. So I want to see, is 3 and 6 tenths less than, greater than, or equal to 3 and 59 hundredths? So the first thing I want to do is plug in my numbers in my place value chart. My decimal has to go where my decimal point is. So then my 3 comes in my ones, my 6 comes in my tenths. I'm going to do the same thing with my number I'm comparing to. So my 3 comes in my ones, I line up my decimal, then my 5 and my 9. Anytime there's a place value that doesn't have anything and it's open on this side, I have an imaginary 0 here. So if I plug in my imaginary 0, I can see this is actually also equivalent to 3 and 60 hundredths. So let's check it place value by place value, and we always start with the greatest place value. So then we start with the ones place. I have a 3 and a 3. That doesn't help me. They're equal. Here, I have a 6 and a 5 already right here. My 6 is greater than 5. That means this whole number is greater. So I'm going to label it. This one's greater. Well, if that one's greater, then this one has to be less than. And I know you're thinking, you might be thinking, what? But that's a 0, that's a 9. Yes, you're right. But what's greater? $3.60 or $3.59? 60 cents is greater, so I know that this number, 3 and 6 tenths, is greater than 3 and 59 hundredths. Because remember, there's an imaginary 0 here. So that's actually 60. So in this case, I want to put the greater than sign. Another way we can compare numbers is by showing visual models. I already set it up here so that I don't have to draw it out. I know my lines are not perfect, guys. Sorry about that, but you get it. Okay, so they're 100 in each. So I have, because remember, in my wholes, I have 100 parts if I'm talking hundredths. So here it says I have 3 tenths. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to shade in 3 tenths. 1, 2, 3. Because remember, that's representing, each one of those tenths is representing one of the place value here. So I have 10 here, 10 here, and 10 here. And here it says I have 4 more hundredths. So I'm going to shade in 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here I'm representing 0 and 34 hundredths. I'm going to represent 72 hundredths on this side. How many tenths do I have shaded? I have 7. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 tenths shaded. So I shaded in 7 tenths. I have 2 more hundredths. So I have 1, 2. So looking at these visual models, which one can you see is greater? Which one takes up more space? My 72 hundredths does. Because remember, this one's representing 72 hundredths. This one does, and I can tell just by looking at my model. So my greater than sign, this time I'm going to be pointing at using my less than sign. So I know that 34 hundredths is less than 72 hundredths. So 72 hundredths is greater, and I can tell by using these visual models. And it's very important that they are the exact same size so that you can really tell which one is greater and which one is less than. All right, something else we can use is a number line. So I already set up my number line here. If I look at my number line, I start off with 0, and I'm labeling by the hundredths. So from 0 to 10 over, that's actually tenths. So now I'm not dealing with whole numbers, now I'm dealing with decimals. So here it's tenths, 10 more over, that's 20. So I have 20 hundredths here, 10 hundredths here, 10 more over, I have 30 hundredths, 10 more over, I have 40 hundredths, 10 more over, I have 50, 10 more over, I have 60 hundredths. So then here it says, I'm comparing these two numbers, 0 and 5 tenths, 0 and 43 hundredths. So I want to plug in my numbers in my number line. So I have 5 tenths. I don't have any representations here of tenths. But like we said up here, anytime there's nothing in the hundredths place, I can put my imaginary 0. So that's also equivalent to 50 hundredths. So I know that point is right here. So I have my 50 hundredths point right there. And this one says 43 hundredths. So I come to my 40 hundredths. Right in the middle I know is 5, so that's 45. 43 is less than 45, so that would be about right here. Because that's 40, this is 50, and I know in the middle of 40 and 50 is 45. So this line here is 45. 43 is a little less. But remember, we're talking hundredths. So if you look at this, I know the greater number is going to be closer to the right because my numbers are getting bigger. So in this case, I would use my greater than sign because I know 50 hundredths or 5 tenths is greater than 43 hundredths.